What's up, everybody? Noah Kids are back here for another episode of Noah and Scottie Reviews. We have 8 films to talk about with you guys this week, and let's just say this was not the best week for Hallmark films. This was not the week of the Santa Summit or of a Where Are You Christmas. This is not a week like that, where we have great films over across the entire weekend. We had some good ones, but we also had a couple clunkers. But let's get right into it. First off, we are going to start off with the Hallmark Movies Now exclusive called Rescuing Christmas. This one is all about in a world where Santa is real and wants to drum up some holiday spirit. 2 of Santa's elves, Chuck and Debbie, devise a plan to grant one human on Earth 3 wishes to kickstart the holidays. Unfortunately, that human is Erin. She's lost all affection for the season and for the holiday of Christmas, and even a blind date set up by her sister with a charming guy named Sam won't change her mind about Christmas, but she makes the mistake of wishing Christmas would just disappear. Erin wakes up in a world where there is no Christmas, no one knows what it is, and it does not exist. What does that remind you of? We just had Where Are You Christmas. What happens here is she's horrified that Christmas is taken away, so she enlists the help of Sam to reinvent the festivities from scratch. In the process, Erin learns just how much this holiday and its traditions have meant to everyone around her, and how much Sam has come to mean to her. This film was scary to me. Because with Hallmark Movies Now movies, they have all been bad. They've all been bad films. We had the Love Club films, we had Sugar Plum Twist, and we had another one that I don't remember the name of. Every Time a Bell Rings, or Every Bell Rings, something.
Didn't watch it, so I don't know.
This one is the strongest one thus far for it. Now, we do have another one that we will be talking about next week that I have not seen yet, but you have. Yes. This is one that was really, really charming. The first 20 minutes scared me because it looked like it was just going to be a poorly paced film that had bad comedy and almost nothing else going for it. However, getting more into the film, what happens here is we see this couple start to build chemistry throughout the entire film. However, the ending kind of ruined this movie for me. We're not going to go into spoilers, but you and I have spoke about this a little bit, and I see how people feel about this film. This is a very charming film. They want you to be happy watching it, and you know what you're going to get by the end. I just thought the ending could have used a little bit more work. But the chemistry is very well done. The comedy is great, especially from Chuck and Debbie. Give me more of Chuck and Debbie. They were the highlight of this film. We had Rachel Lee Cook. Rachel Lee Cook's past couple Hallmark films, they haven't been great. They have not been great. And I think I'm being very nice with that. Because looking at her past films she had with Hallmark, she had 'Tis the Season to Be Merry, which was not a great film. It was a good film. It was very good, but it had the potential to be great. You had Cross Country Christmas, which I think is my favorite of her Christmas films, I think. It's much more of like a planes, trains, and automobiles type film.
Mm-hmm.
This is much better than her past couple of films she's been in. Not counting Hallmark. A Tourist Guide to Love, which I reviewed earlier this year on Netflix. Spirit Halloween the movie. That's a perfectly enjoyable family horror film. That's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Then we have He's All That. We have He's All That. Need I say more? Love Guaranteed was fine, but I think her best films in Hallmark are actually the Vineyard films. Autumn in the Vineyard, Summer in the Vineyard, and Valentine in the Vineyard. Those are her best films. Because you're building a story and building a romance for 3 films. You're seeing their lives grow. You're just seeing it all come together. This film, while the comedy works, While the chemistry is there, the first 20 minutes were a bit of a rougher sit for me. Then you get into the film and it works. It works once we get those elves down to America. When they're in the North Pole, those North Pole scenes have some of the cringiest lines I've ever heard. And I don't mean cringy as in like, oh, I love you so much, I can't live without you, the Hallmark style. This is the bad comedy that I'm talking about. Referencing sugar plums and candy canes. And Santa just automatically leaves. Santa goes, bye.
I found that funny.
Oh.
He just said, deuces, I'm out.
Well, I mean, hell, once you get to that point, you're that close to Christmas, you're not getting those toys made. Where were the toys being made? He has to prepare to get that crap to all the families. But this was not a bad film. I was very skeptical going into this one. And I enjoyed myself over it. I'm not saying it's a great film, but I'm hoping they do is they maybe focus more on these and build these as comedies more than the romance films. Because taking away from this ending, or let me reverse that. What this ending did for me is it completely just reversed everything they did in the film. Because nobody is supposed to remember what happens. What happens in her world where nobody remembers what Christmas is, to me, that means that nobody remembers what happened over that, week? And he references something in the very beginning. Yes, it happened in the beginning, but you didn't build as much chemistry. You don't spend as much time together in the real world to get to know them. Instead, she's very just stubborn and a little bit rude towards him. So that doesn't scream love to me. What happened in Where Are You Christmas, I like that a lot more because they're actually remembering a memory that makes them remember Christmas. What made them love Christmas? What makes them love the holiday? Here, I'm not going to say what happens. The ending just did not work for me. I wanted a different ending, but it's good enough for me to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely one I can see myself enjoying if it gets a physical, but with it being a Hallmark Movies now exclusive, I don't know. It'll probably air on the channel next Christmas in July, I think. I don't think they have it scheduled for the rest of the year on there. But what are your thoughts on Rescuing Christmas?
It definitely wasn't as good as Where Are You Christmas. I like that one a little bit more just because it did have more meaning to the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought this was a really fun one. I thought the chemistry was there. The comedy worked. I do kind of wish we could have got her, the elves actually coming down to earth in the very beginning and actually like her trying and having to actually believe that they are elves and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wish we could have got that. That could have made it a little bit more funnier. But still, I mean, it worked for me. The ending worked for me. I was fine with it. Didn't really have any big issues with it. But still just didn't reach that level where I could give it a 5 out of 5. So I went with a 4 out of 5 for it.
To me, this might have been the strongest film of the entire week. But then looking back, we also have To All a Good Night. This is a movie that had very little good marketing. This marketing was bad. This preview looked like it was going to be one thing, but it turned out to be another. And I think that this is going to be an interesting film. This is all about after a small-town photographer saves a man's life, she learns he's in town to buy her family's parkland, the location of the annual Christmas celebration. This is a good little film. It's a good one. We do have 2 likable stars. I'm not even going to try and say Mark's last name because I know I'm going to screw that up. No way. But we have Kimberly Sustad, who we know from many other films. We love her to death. She's a fantastic Hallmark actress. We know her. We love her. she's a fantastic writer as well, because I believe she also co-wrote Three Wise Men and a Baby. So give me more of that. But this is definitely a likable film, not one I can see myself rewatching many, many more times. But the chemistry was good. It had a good Christmas feel to it. This was more of a drama to me than a romance. They just didn't build the romance enough for me to care, even though there was enough to make me like them, like the ending, like these actors as a couple. But this is just a very forgettable film to me. I don't remember hardly anything about this film, and I just watched it last week. This is a forgettable film for me. I remember I liked it, but this is where the Hallmark movies start to blend. This is where they start to blend, and this is towards everybody's time where we're like, okay, it's Christmas time. We've had the Hallmark Christmas films, but the new ones are starting to get overbearing. This is where you start to feel the 40 of them. This is where you start to feel it. Normally, that's with the Merry Movie Week. Normally, that's where you're like, okay, this is where I'm starting to feel it. And I think that's where you really started to feel it, because with the 6 p.m. films, we saw the 6 p.m. films went. But this is where we know they haven't put their best foot forward, right? They either put their films out, unless you're like a Hanukkah on Rye, where they leave one of the best films for last for some unknown reason. But To All a Good Night was a good little film. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the chemistry. The romance could have been built a little bit better, but I don't think I'll remember this film by the end of the entire Christmas season. It's good enough for me to give it a 4-star, because I rated it right after I watched it. Looking back on it, I can't tell you anything I remember about this film. I can tell you more about A Christmas on Cherry Lane. I almost called it on Christmas on Candy Cane Lane. We're saving that one for later. But this is definitely one that I'm very proud of the ratings for. It did very, very well. The previews did enough for people to make this the highest rated Thursday night film that they've had thus far for the Christmas season. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for that, which means we will probably get a physical release of this one. But what did you think about this film overall? And do you see yourself rewatching this one over something like A Rescuing Christmas?
Well, it's hard to say over Rescuing Christmas. I mean, that's two different. You got comedy compared to a drama.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, this one, I really enjoyed it. I knew watching it that it wasn't going to be for everybody, because there wasn't one set dramatic element that they were focusing on. It was pretty much multiple elements going on, and it was resolved fairly quickly for each element. But for me, it didn't bother me that they did that. I still got enjoyment out of this film. It was still funny. I loved Kimberly and Mark, whatever together. And for me, they built the romance well enough. I mean, they kind of pushed more for the fact that he, of that big kind of reveal towards the end, kind of setting up the romance. But it just, I don't know, for me it worked. Now I didn't give it a 5-star just because I could definitely see why people were saying it was slower, wasn't that interesting, stuff like that. I can definitely see that. So I did end up giving this a 4 out of 5. I can see myself watching it again just because I enjoyed the comedy a lot in it. Mm-hmm. And I like the story. It didn't, for me, drag or nothing. But to say, what I would watch it over out of this weekend, I don't know. This weekend, they all kind of fell almost in that same score category for me. So I liked them all about the same this weekend.
Well, you say that now. But you're forgetting one, man. We have Magic and Mistletoe. Magic and Mistletoe. This is all about a successful writer, Harrington, returns to his hometown for an annual Christmas festival where he must face his publicist there for damage control. So pretty much that's not giving you a whole lot about what this film is actually about. He's a successful Christmas author who wrote this successful book called Magic and Mistletoe, which I believe is based in his hometown of Mistletoe.
Mhm.
Then he posted something stupid on social media, and now everybody thinks he hates Christmas and he's a Grinch and all that. Well, there's your film. Along the way, his publicist, who isn't really his publicist, is just someone who's making him go there because she works for the publication that he writes for. So it's not really even his publicist.
No, it's a publicist assistant.
Yeah, it's a publicist assistant, so it's not even his publicist. But I will say this. I can see why a lot of people did not like this film. I didn't love this film either. But this is definitely a different role for Paul Campbell. Paul Campbell is a guy who does all these swoon-worthy films. And he's a very likable guy. He's funny. He's charming. He's likable. This guy in this film, no. Harrington is a jerk. Harrington is a straight-up jerk throughout the first, half of the film?
I couldn't tell you because I don't feel like he ever changed his attitude in the character. So
I think it worked for me. I think they started to make you feel bad for him because you saw the celebrity status once they're looking for a tree. In that scene, they tried to change that a little bit, and I see why it changed for some, and it worked for me. Because you're actually seeing the celebrity status overtake him a little bit, and he's getting a little bit overwhelmed. Everybody just crowding around him. And we know that happens in real life with all celebrities. It happens all the time if you're a big celebrity. But for a writer, I'm sorry, my favorite author is James Patterson. He's one of the biggest writers in the world. I've not seen one video of him being swarmed by like 50 people. I've not seen one. I haven't seen that happen to a Stephen King. So I think that was a little bit overblown there. But then again, they are in his hometown, so it's not like they don't know him. And some people know him in the town and some don't, even though it's your hometown. It seems to be a small little town, so I don't know how he doesn't know the people, if people have changed over the years. I don't know. That made very little sense to me.
Yeah.
But Lindy Greenwood and Paul Campbell do have enough chemistry to make this work as a romance film, but also they didn't build this romance enough to make you care about it because it's mostly them butting heads the whole time. There are moments here and there where they do share a little bit of chemistry. The chemistry is there. But this story was all over the place. It was messy. It was a little bit boring. Paul Campbell's performance, I thought, was very, very good because it's different for him. And I liked seeing him not as a over-the-top, like a goofball or something like that. Because Ryan Pavey always plays the suave, rich dude who always has a deep voice and is always charming. I'd like to see him play a legitimate jerk. I liked Paul Campbell in this film because he played a jerk. He did it very, very well. I enjoyed that change of character for him. It shows me a little bit of range. Because if you're only known for one thing, even if you do it well, I mean, look at somebody like a Jim Carrey. He can do drama like no other. Will Ferrell can do drama like nobody's business. But for a Hallmark actor, if you're stuck in one, I think you're just stuck. Because it might have been the direction. The director might not have done a good enough job for some people of conveying this is what they want him to portray in the character. Maybe it was a wrong direction. But not saying that this is a bad director, because I've liked her past 2 Hallmark films. She directed The Christmas Contest and In Merry Measure. So I don't know what happened with this. I know a lot of people are not enjoying this one. This is a 3-star for me. I enjoyed this enough to give it 3 out of 5. But this is definitely the weakest one of the weekend. Definitely.
By far.
And by far one of the weakest ones that we've had in recent memory. For me, personally. I enjoyed every other film last week more than this one. And last week was not that great of a week with Christmas with a Kiss and a Not So Royal Romance.
Yeah.
But there's my thoughts on it. What did you think about it?
I just didn't like it. That I gave it credit for basically costume design at the very end when they went to the party and Christmas feel. And that was pretty much it. I didn't feel the chemistry. I did not like the way Paul portrayed the character. It just was very boring. I've seen it done way better from other actors to play in that Scrooge, Grinch type character. Like you said, maybe it was the way the direction was for him, or maybe it's just because he's never done it before. Maybe that was his first interpretation of it. But to me, it just did not work. And the script just overall was just messy and boring. And for me, it's just one of the worst. And I gave it the worst score of the weekend at 2 out of 5. So, it kind of sucks. As I usually like some of Paul Campbell's stuff, but this one just didn't work for me at all.
And I can definitely see that one is not going to get high praise. Now, the ratings for it. This was a lower week for Hallmark ratings. I'm not saying that Paul isn't a big star, because he is. He's a bigger star. But let's talk about one that did great in the ratings. We have Christmas on Cherry Lane. Christmas on Cherry Lane is one that we were very curious about, because you got almost nothing about what this film was actually about in the previews. And that's why this did the best in the ratings, because people were very curious about what this film was even about.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into 2 different synopsises of this, because this synopsis and all the other synopsises I've seen have not given any justice to the plot. 3 couples at different parts of life navigate big turning points in their lives over the holidays. That's true, but what they don't tell you is it all takes place in the same house. Over what? 50
3
years?
different. Yeah, it's like, I think it's like, was it 70s, 90s, and 2023 or something like that?
Yeah, what wasn't it like 73, 99, and 23?
Something like that.
But this is pretty much about these 3 families. One couple played by Aaron Cahill and John Brotherton. Let's talk about those 2. They're the biggest stars you have here. Next to, say, a Jonathan Bennett, because everybody knows him better than everybody else in this film. But they had tremendous chemistry here. They take place in the 1970s. So this is about 3 different families who are undergoing different turning points in life over Christmas. They are getting ready to have a baby. And their family comes, her family comes to spend Christmas with them, unannounced. So you throw a little bit of like a family vacation, or a Christmas vacation plot in there with the family coming to spend Christmas with them. That's fine. Then you have the one that takes place in the 90s with Jonathan Bennett, and I'm not going to remember his name. Sorry, his partner.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to adopt a child because they had recently been accepted. And they're basically trying to get the house all straightened up, really.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Because I loved when they were singing, and Jonathan, he does the best with his facial expressions. Oh my lord. He can outact anybody in this film. He has the most charisma. He's likable. I enjoyed that storyline so much because that gave me the most comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when everything is going wrong involving a wall, stove. What else could have gone wrong for these guys? And then you have the present day in 2023 with a Good Witch reunion with Catherine Bell and James Denton. So, Catherine Bell just recently got engaged to James Denton, and her kids are coming to spend the holiday with them. And they recently did they lose their father? No, I can't remember if he passed away or if it was just a divorce.
I can't remember. That one was kind of one that was I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was good, but it was forgettable because it was more of a heavier drama. So I can't remember if he passed away or if they separated.
That's the one where I don't think they really gave it as much as attention as they should have, because that's one that takes place in present day. And this is a film that did confuse people. It confused people. And I can see why. What do you watch a Hallmark film for? And then again, we are not the target audience. We are not older women who sit there and watch film after film after film, or a woman in her 30s who loves a fun, fluffy, fun romance film. This is not what this is. This is a family dramedy. This is what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say this. It might be a little too confusing and convoluted for some people, because these stories, if you don't pay attention, they're going to get confusing. They're going to mesh together and you won't understand. What happens there is they give enough attention to two of the stories, but Catherine Bell and James Denton kind of go to the wayside to me, because I didn't care as much about their story as I did about the Jonathan storyline and about the Aaron storyline. I cared about theirs, but I think if you would have taken out the Catherine Bell story, it would have taken some of the story away, yeah, but it would have made it a little more less confusing for some people, because then you have to sit there and you have to do a little like pause and reflect on what you just watched and try and connect everything. I think that's why people are finding this so confusing, because they don't want to think about that during a Hallmark film. They don't want to sit there and think, how does this connect to this? How does this connect to this? To me, that's something for like a Scream film, right? Or a Marvel film, or this or that, where you connect everything. That didn't work for me all that well. I enjoyed a couple of storylines. I just didn't care for this film as much as everybody else did. But this is a very mixed film. People are either hating this film because it's too confusing, they're finding it charming, but it's confusing, or they completely get it because they paid attention the whole time. And then you have me in the middle. I paid attention, but even I got confused. This could have used a different script, right? This script could have used a bit of a rewrite to maybe tie things together a little bit less confusing. This is not a perfect film for me. The chemistry is there between Aaron and John. The chemistry is there between everybody. Do I need to say that Catherine Bell and James Denton have good chemistry? They were in a show together for 6 seasons. They love those characters. They love those actors. Naturally, they're going to have good chemistry. But this was just a film that had good moments, funny singing scenes, very enjoyable singing moments. But if you would have just given this script another rewrite, I thought this could have been a better film. Not saying it's a bad film, but I'm gonna say it's a decent one. I'm going between a 3.5 and a 4 on this one. For right now, I'm gonna say it's a 3.5. Rewatching this one next year, knowing what you're getting into, I think that's what's going to help this film. It's going to take multiple rewatches. Multiple rewatches, which is why if this gets a DVD release, I will buy it just so I can sit there and rewatch it and pay closer attention. Maybe write some notes down about what happened here, how this connects here, what they could have done to fix this. That might be something I could do, but this is a film that I just wanted a little bit more from and a little bit less from, if that makes any sense. But this was a perfect film to you, right? This was exactly what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
This was not a Hallmark film, all right? This was not a Hallmark film. And I think that's why I enjoyed the Santa Summit. I think I enjoyed that one a little bit more. I think I enjoyed it's not To Catch, it's Catch Me If You Claws a little bit more because it had that non-Hallmark feel. It's a different story. They're making it a little bit more mature. And they're making you think a little bit. And they upped the production value in this film as well. This film looked magnificent. Oh my Lord. This looked magnificent. Perfect Christmas feel. But what did you think about this film?
I love this one. As you said, it was different. It's not your typical Hallmark.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to. My favorite story was John and Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were, to me, that storyline. I thought it was hilarious, just because I am married. We deal with the family situations and stuff at Christmas. So for me, I connected with that storyline a lot. Love Jonathan Bennett's storyline. It was hilarious. A more drama one, I didn't hate it. It was just I didn't care as much, just because I was loving the other two so much, and that one was such a heavier drama that, it was good, but it was just kind of okay, whatever, kind of a storyline for me. It just was in there to connect the three, pretty much for me. But I didn't have an issue keeping up with it. I pretty much was connecting it all the way through. I By the end of it, I understood everything, how it connected. But I could definitely see, as I was watching it, I can seeing people saying they were confused and stuff. I mean, I could definitely see it, especially if you weren't paying close attention, because I know I saw people saying that, they just turned it on. It was just something they turned on, and they weren't really paying close enough attention. And to me, why turn the movie on if you're not going to watch it? If you're not going to sit and give your full attention to it, especially with it being new.
Yeah. Now, if you're watching it on the night of, I completely get it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me and you, if we're going to sit down and just stick one on, it's not going to be a brand new one. It's going to be one that we've seen many times over.
Yeah, that's different if you just background noise in one. Yeah, but for it being brand new, you gotta watch it and you gotta pay attention.
Yep.
And but like I said, I didn't have an issue connecting everything. I thought it all made sense. It all connected great at the end. And I loved how it all came together. And I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5. It's my second favorite Christmas film of the year, right behind Holiday Hotline. So, but was surprised that it beat Santa Summit, but hey, I think Santa Summit's right behind it. So
yeah,
it didn't beat it by much. They're both 5 out of 5s.
Next up is Round and Round. I just got done watching this film not too long ago. And I will say this. For a film they shove down your throat, this was not that good. It was not good enough for it to be that. If you were going to do that with a Christmas on Cherry Lane. Do that with a Christmas on Cherry Lane. You have your bigger stars. Now, I'm not saying that Brian Greenberg is not a big actor, because he is. He's a bigger actor. This is his first Hallmark film. But looking at his other films he's been in, I've enjoyed those films a lot more. I've enjoyed that film a lot more. And I am not ashamed to say it. This is definitely one of those films where you could shove this one on as a background watch, no problem, and completely keep up with it. This is all about, well, Rachel is stuck in a time loop. Reliving the night of her parents' Hanukkah party, she learns. She leans on the boy her grandmother is trying to set her up with to make it out. This is a movie that does have good chemistry. A nice little story. A nice little change, because we have seen this a couple times. We've seen these time loop films. But Hallmark doesn't do it as much. We've seen it more in like a Groundhog Day. We've seen it more in other films. But to me, those films did it better, because they add something different to it every single time they go back. They add on to the story. Instead, they focused way too much on her boyfriend she has, and they spend too much time focusing their comedy on that more than building their chemistry between the main love interests. And while the grandmother was very, very likable, I wanted more of the grandmother. The grandmother was great in this film. She gave this film heart, and she gave it comedy. This movie worked for me as a throw-on background watch. I'm going to say that over all the films that I could see myself rewatching again, it'll be this one as a background watch. For one, I'm going to have to sit down and actually enjoy again. It'll be a Christmas on Cherry Lane. It'll be a Rescuing Christmas. This one was fine. This was a fine one. Did it need to be shoved down your throat 45 times every single time there was an ad break? I know it's going overboard, right? But they kind of did the same thing with Holiday Hotline. Holiday Hotline was one of those films where if I heard Let's Talk Turkey one more time, I was going to scream. I was going to scream. Thankfully, that film works. It works. Yeah. You don't get the whole story in the preview. This movie, you get it. It's a time loop film. We've seen the time loop films before. Give me something different here. But what they didn't do is they didn't build the romance enough for me to really care as much as I should have. Take out the boyfriend. Then you give me an interesting love story here. She's not giving the guy enough. I don't know why he even kept liking her in the first place. Yes, I know it's supposed to be fate in the film, but for me, that's not enough. That is not enough. If you're going to be that overbearing, whoo, she was telling him, I know this and this and this. That's a restraining order. But overall, it's a fine little film. It's a fine little film. Didn't need to be over-marketed, but definitely a fine little film. I did enjoy Vic here. I'm not going to try and say her last name. I'm bad at last names. But the character of Rachel, very likable girl. Once we get to the family scenes. Once we get to the time loop. But I thought you could have written this character a little bit differently. Instead of making her feel overbearing, maybe help her like learn a lesson a little bit easier. Try and get her back a little bit in a different way. Create the chemistry that I wanted in something like a Groundhog Day with Groundhog Day, they build it. They add something new every single time. There's montages. We go to the same party every single time, and it's almost the same scene every single time, and it got repetitive and a little bit boring for me. With this being a film I was not all that interested in the first place, I think this lived up to my expectations. This lived up to my expectations. Now, what do we have for next week? We'll get into that in just a little bit. But this is a perfectly fine film that I'm going to say wrapped up a fine week in Hallmark. I think this is a perfectly fine little week. It's not the weakest. It's not the worst week. By far, that was the first week.
Mm-hmm.
But this is definitely better than A Christmas in Notting Hill. Definitely better than A Christmas with a Kiss. Definitely better than A Letters of Santa. This is going to lay right in the middle of my 3 to 3.5 stars for it. And I'm going with a 3.5 for this one. I thought it was fine. Nothing all that great. But a nice little background watch. If it's on and there's nothing else on, sure, I'll just shove it on. What did you think about Round and Round?
I really enjoyed this one. I think the beginning went a little fast. I think they could have slowed the beginning first 30 minutes, I guess you could say, of it. But once we got past that and she started to really get into the time loop of it, I had fun with it. I thought there was good chemistry between everybody. I laughed all the way through all of it. For me, she didn't feel overbearing. For me, she wanted to get out of the time loop and she needed the help. So she had to try to get him to believe her and to get his help and the help of his friends to get her out of this time loop. So for me, it didn't come off as overbearing. It just came off as somebody that's in a position that they need help and need somebody to believe them. And my only real issue, besides the beginning going a little fast, was I feel like they could have addressed more if the family, while the time loop was happening, if they knew it was happening, if they didn't know it was happening, because it just, I don't know. I feel like we could have got more information on how the whole family thing works with the little dreidel thing.
Yeah.
But we know that by the end that every family, how it ends with every family member, but I feel like they could have gave us a little bit more information there for during it. But overall, I thought this was a really fun one that I gave a 4 out of 5 for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm surprised we're so close since since you didn't like it near as much.
See, with this one, I think what the issue was is I knew what I was going to get because they're going the Groundhog Day route. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that before. We've seen it with like a Happy Death Day. But it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I wish you would have just added some different scenes in there. Because in like a Happy in Happy Death Day, does she die every single time? Yes, but each day they had something different. They added a different element, like a little bit of comedy, a little bit of a character in here, a character change here and there. That movie worked for me more. And of course, Groundhog Day, nothing is going to beat that. It's the greatest time loop film of all time, and everyone is going to be compared to it. Every other time loop film will be compared to it no matter what until the end of time. But if you could have changed a few scenes, I thought this could have gotten to a 4 to 4.5. Added more to the overall story. Because the family was there. but you didn't shed enough light on them. And the grandma was a very likable character here. Because the grandma, whoo, boy, could she just tells you what to do. Go in there and talk to that boy.
Yeah.
Grandma. But I think that this could go up on a rewatch. It could either go up or it could go down. I don't see it staying the same. Because on the first watch, it's always going to hit a little bit different. Unless it's like a 5 out of 5. Or unless you think it's a bad film. Those are not going to change. Because you automatically love it. So you're going to enjoy it more. If you don't like it, you're not going to give that film another watch. But there's our thoughts on the Hallmark week 7. No, week 8. Week 8. We only have, should we say 2 weeks? Because it's not really 2 weeks. We have the 5 for this week, and then we have 1 next week. So we got 6 films left. Let's see if any of them can stick out to us. We will see, but that's not the end of the reviews. We got 3 more for you guys. And we're going to go away from Christmas for just a little bit with Don't Suck. This is a film that you knew very little about. I was at work and I text you. I'm like, man, I saw this film. I know you love your horror and comedy. I think this might be a good watch. Not watching the trailer first. This is all about a veteran comedian's last chance at stardom takes him on the road with a young comic who reveals an unexpected past that he is a vampire. And that young comic is played by Matt Rife. Matt Rife is in a little bit of hot water right now because people are finding his comedy a little bit too over the top, raunchy, disrespectful. It's stand-up comedy. To me, it's either going to hit with you or it's not. I mean, he's a young comedian. He has to find his way at some point. This movie here, this is his first film that I remember him being a lead in. Now, it seems like this is not his first acting role. He was in a low-budget film in 2020, apparently called Black Pumpkin. I don't know. 2021, he was a side character in a Eric Roberts film called The Elevator. He was in a film last year called Wolf Mountain. Next year, he has one called The Private Eye, where he is the lead in it. But this film could have gone one of 2 ways. This could have gone the complete horror comedy route, giving you the blood and gore you want from a vampire film while still giving you the comedy. What it did not do was that exact thing. This was a comedy that did not hit. They didn't add enough of him being this vampire. They added in bits of comedy and different styles of comedy. There's mean comedy, there's sex comedy, there's different types of comedy here that is going to hit for different people. I thought I enjoyed some of the comedy here. Not as much as I wanted to. This is definitely not Matt Rife's full style of comedy. This was not written by him, and you can tell. Being a big fan of Matt Rife's crowd work, and I enjoyed his stand-up special fine. His Netflix one fine. It's definitely not what I'm used to, but then again, he's still young. So we're going to give him time to grow as a comedian. As an actor, I got to say he's not too bad. He's not a bad actor. With a better script, he could have done more with it. Given more of a comedy that was actually funny, it could have worked. Give him a horror film, he could play a vampire again. He looked good as a vampire. The fangs didn't look awful. But this movie was just meh. It was meh. I hate to say it that way, but what else there is to say about it? Jamie Kennedy is fine here. It's Jamie Kennedy. This isn't the 90s Jamie Kennedy we saw. This is just, see, how do you describe him in this film? He's a comedian who was at the top of his game at one point, but now he's kind of just lost it.
He's Jamie Kennedy in real life.
And if you're watching, we're sorry. We love you in Scream, and we love you as an actor. But this film did not do anybody hardly any favors, except get Matt Rife more into the movie-verse sphere. That's pretty much what this film was basically known for. And that's the only reason I had any interest in it, was because of Matt Rife. I wanted to see what he could do as an actor. And for me, I think he can be a good little actor. But give him a good comedy. This script was not that well written. The vampire effects were fine, but this movie is exactly what I didn't want it to be. A middle of the road horror comedy that had very little horror in it. It had blood, it had a little bit of gore, but it was more just them attempting jokes and them going on a little bit of a tour to try and get Jamie Kennedy's career up and running again. That's about it. Jamie Kennedy's character, he's not a likable guy. He's a complete jerk in this film. He is not likable. He's the kind of comedian where you just want to stop watching him. One, yes, he's funny, but if you see him in real life, I don't care how funny you are going to be a jerk. I'm done. I'm done. That's why I like somebody like a Jeff Dunham, a Gabriel Iglesias, a George Lopez, a Kevin Hart. They're funny, but they're genuinely nice people, I think. I haven't heard one person say hardly anything bad about any of those guys. Unless you work with them on like a sitcom or a film, but as a human being themselves, I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about them. This film did not work for me overall, but I think it's a good enough film where if you're interested in it, give it a watch. You could enjoy it. Comedy hits people different. So with a horror comedy, if you're looking for a horror comedy with a vampire in it, this isn't an awful film. I'm going to go with a 3 out of 5 for this one. What did you think about Don't Suck?
Well, don't really have a ton to say about it, honestly. I mean, it was just a movie that was there. I watched it. Matt Rife did fine. I kind of wished he was the one that actually did his own lines in this. I wish that they would let him just kind of done his own thing. But then again, I don't want to get into his style of comedy because it would probably trigger people with what I have to say toward them attacking him right now over it. But yeah. But you know, I wish he could have done his own lines. They could have like riffed off each other more, because I think it could have made it a lot more funnier. I did get a laugh here and there, but nothing overly amazing about this movie. I gave it a 2.5, mainly for Matt's performance being fine, the couple of laughs I got, and the fact that it didn't look so low budget that it reminded me of a Wild Eye title or nothing. So it had a couple of positives, but nothing that I would ever watch again. And something that hopefully Matt can grow from and maybe get better roles and be able to write his own stuff instead of having to go off of what other people want him to do. But we'll see. Yeah, nothing amazing with this one. 2.5 out of 5.
Next up, we have Candy Cane Lane. We are a couple weeks late with this one, but you know what? I got around to watching it. And let's get into this one. Candy Cane Lane. A man determined to win the neighborhood's annual Christmas decorating contest makes a pact with an elf to help him win. However, the elf casts a spell bringing the 12 days of Christmas to life, bringing chaos to the small, unsuspecting town. Let me say this about Candy Cane Lane. Eddie Murphy has not had the best comeback. Coming to America was not all that great. Now, coming back to his comedic roots, sure. Eddie Murphy was a bit off in some of these scenes. It seemed like he wasn't giving his all because of the script he was given to work with. And I'm not going to say that through the entire film. I just mean in the very beginning of it. Because the films are shot in a different order. It's not script by or a scene by scene by scene. Each scene is shot at a different time. So I don't know if he was just having an off day when he shot the first like 20 minutes of this film. But overall, I thought this film was fine. It didn't win me over. I didn't laugh all that much. I enjoyed the first 30 minutes more than the rest of the film. I thought the film was way too long at almost 2 hours. The effects were fine for the budget it had. Eddie Murphy was decent, but in a family comedy that was trying to be more of like a mature PG family comedy than a family switch, goofy, over-the-top comedy from like the mid 2000s. This one sort of felt like more of a Christmas with the Cranks style a bit more of a mature-esque family comedy in a way. And I love the Christmas with the Cranks film because it's a classic. But this film just didn't work for me all that much. I wanted more from it. I didn't enjoy it. It was way too long. Eddie Murphy was good in most of the film, but just a few of those scenes didn't work. I did not enjoy Jillian Bell. I did not enjoy her as this elf. I thought she was way too over the top. And yes, she's supposed to be unlikable, but she just got on my nerves. Way too over the top with her line delivery. And Santa, that's a nice little Santa there. Because this is a Santa that we haven't seen before. You're telling me that Santa can't make elves do something? Really? We've seen how that works in something like a Christmas Chronicles 2. Where one bad elf goes off. And they start causing trouble or holding the North Pole hostage. Instead, this elf is doing bad things. They've screwed some people over. I don't want to go into spoilers, but let's just say there's these figures that used to be people. How do I say that without spoiling it?
You can't.
No, I can't. I will say this. This one was not getting the best love, but it's where I thought it was going to be. If you look at something like a Candy Cane Lane, you're either going to love it or you're going to think it's fine. There are a few people who are legitimately hating this film, and I don't hate this film. I don't hate this film. I think it's a fine little comedy that was overly long. That is the nicest way that I could do it. The comedy didn't work for me. For me, a family switch worked a lot more because it was funnier to me. I liked that storyline a lot better, and nobody got on my nerves like Jillian Bell did. But I know that you liked this one a lot more than I did. And tell us why you enjoyed Candy Cane Lane more.
Just for me, I like the more adult family comedy. I like the comedy where the movies, to me, that feel more like family comedies are ones where it's something kids can enjoy, but there's little things thrown in that will go over the kids' heads that the adults will understand and get a laugh from. For me, something like Family Switch, that's just full-fledged children's family comedy. I don't like that. To me, that's just a childish, ridiculous, dumb comedy. I like the ones where, I can see it, I can enjoy it. I'm not sitting here rolling my eyes with it over the comedy from it. I'm laughing because I'm understanding it, but our kids aren't going to understand it. It's going to go over their heads. They're going to be wondering why we're laughing, but they're still going to enjoy the movie because of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was what this one gave. And I thought Eddie Murphy did really great in it. Probably my favorite one from him since probably Mr. Church, which is more of a drama. And I didn't have a problem with Jillian Bell. To me, annoying was the Jolly Johnsons from All Out the Holly 2. That's annoying. What she did, to me, she did a perfectly fine job. I think she was funny. And I didn't really have much of an issue at all. The only thing, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And for me, the only issue was the runtime. I think they probably could have trimmed it a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to make it a little bit shorter. But other than that, I had so much fun with this one. I hope it gets a physical release. I don't know if it will. We'll see. But this is definitely something I could watch every year around this time and just have so much fun with it. Let the kids watch it. They would have fun with it. And us just sit down and enjoy it. But, that's just me. I probably am in the major minority on it, but it just worked for me. It's what I wanted, and it's what I think of when I look at a family comedy.
Mm-hmm. Then we got this one. When the Gringo Stole Christmas. This one, I thought the trailer looked interesting. I thought the trailer looked promising. I enjoy this type of story. However, what they do not tell you in the trailer is what the overall overdrawn story is going to be. Because the trailer, I thought it looked cute. I saw it was 81 minutes. I'm like, okay, sure. I'll give this one a rental. Benny's daughter is on her way home for the holidays. However, she surprises him by arriving with her brand new boyfriend, an uninvited gringo. This movie is bad. Should I say more? It's unfunny. It's overly long. It's really boring. It's one of the worst movies of the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the worst movies of the entire year. Now, with that being said, it's not going to get a half star. Because there were moments here and there where I thought George Lopez did a good enough job in this role because he's playing like he's George Lopez. He's doing his George Lopez-isms, if you will. He's giving his eye way, his stuff like that. He knows how to play this role because he's played this role in something like the George Lopez Show.
Yeah,
he's done this, and we like George. I like George Lopez. What I don't like is this comedy. This comedy did not work over, 80% of the time? If that, probably over 80% of the time. This was an overly long, at 81 minutes, really bad film that I did not enjoy almost at all. George was good. I got a couple laughs, and the daughter was very, very pretty.
That's pretty much all you can say for that one.
The daughter was very pretty, and she was good in this role. I thought she did a good enough job in this one. Jack Kilmer was fine. He didn't deliver anything that was special. I mean, I didn't think this performance was anything great or anything fantastic, but I thought this was a fine little film. Do I think this is better than his last film. And now I'm talking about the director. The director, Angel Garcia, did From Prada to Nada. Okay? From Prada to Nada was a 2011 film that I had a little bit of interest in, mostly because, one, I got it for very, very cheap, and two, because it has Alexa Penavega in it. I think I like that film better, and I gave that a 2.5. I gave that film a 2.5. It had issues, yes, but definitely not the worst film I have seen in a long while. This is one of the most boring films and one of the most boring comedies I have seen in a long, long time. It's going to get a DVD release. It's not going to sell a whole ton of copies. I don't know if the Hispanic community is going to love this film more than we do because they have family members who are like this. I don't know. But maybe this just wasn't made for us. I don't know. But for me, we always say comedy is subjective, and comedy is the most subjective genre. But there's my thoughts on it. I'm going to give it a 1.5 stars. Very positive score, isn't it?
Mine ain't any better.
Oh, you're glowing. You're gonna beam with pride over it, aren't you?
Well, you know.
Dream 6 who?
Well, you know me, I was questioning when you rented it to begin with. I was like, really, you want to watch that one? And but I was actually going to skip it. Mm-hmm. But there was nothing on, literally nothing on, and it was on Stars. I think it was Stars.
Yeah.
And I just thought, why not? Because I knew you was going to watch it and probably do it on the channel. So I just went ahead and done it, and my God, did I get what I expected. The movie, George is good, but he's not. I've seen him a little better. I think he could have been a little bit better, but he's still very good. The girl that played his daughter, she was good. Really the second best part of the whole movie. But everybody else, I mean, the family was likable. Mm-hmm. But the acting just wasn't great. The story was boring. There was a friend / what we thought was an ex-boyfriend aspect in here that took a turn that I did not see coming, that I don't feel like they fleshed out well enough in this thing to even warrant that even having happen. You had the 3 guys that was like sitting outside the house the whole time in their car, which made no sense whatsoever. I did not understand why they were in this movie, what they brought to the movie, because they just sat there in the car the whole time. You know,
all that brought was for George to be George.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, what's the point of these 3 guys? I mean, and then, you know, the ending when everything kind of got crazy and you get your kind of typical romance movie ending. You know, I thought it was just a little too convenient. Yeah. When the one guy shows up. So I don't know. It did not work for me hardly on any level. The Christmas feel was bare minimum, which granted he was trying to do a Mexican American Christmas. So take that with what you will, but I gave it a 1.5 as well. Mm-hmm. You know, I think between the daughter, George, and the family being likable, 1.5 was a good score. Yes. But there's just nothing else worked for this. And I feel sorry that George is he went from Blue Beetle, where he was actually funny in, to this. Mm-hmm. So hopefully maybe he'll get back up into that Blue Beetle character territory, because that was more funnier George. That's the George that I remember from the George Lopez show. This one was there, but just not quite there.
Now, I I think that we will get more of George in the DCU, just because what James Gunn is doing is he is keeping Blue Beetle. He is keeping this iteration because it's only his first film. And people like the film. They love George in it. George stole the film for most people because he's George Lopez. Yeah. That's what he does. But we don't have a whole lot of news this week. We could talk about the Orphan 3 film, but we're just gonna save the news for next week. But what we do have is film nominations. My favorite time of year. We got Christmas and we got award shows. Let's get right into it. We had two nominations. We had the Critics' Choice movie nominations and the Golden Globe nominations. Now, we will cover who wins the TV awards, okay? Right now, we're just going to go over the nominations and give our little reactions to them. And once we get closer to the show, and maybe we would have seen something like the Zone of Interest or a Poor Things or the Boy and the Heron. Once we get closer to those shows, if they come out to rent or if they go to streaming like on Stars or on Prime or something like that. So do you want to start with the smaller ones and go up to the Best Picture, or do you want to do the Best Picture and go down?
However you want to do. You know me in award shows. You're bigger on them than I am. So yeah. However you want to do it.
Let's just go with Best Original Score first, and then we'll go back up to Picture. Best Original Score. I'm not going to say the names because a lot of these are foreign names, and I am bad at that. So we have Poor Things, Oppenheimer, The Boy and the Heron, The Zone of Interest, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Killers of the Flower Moon. Not very surprising there. Spider-Man's score was freaking fantastic. Probably one of the best scores of the entire year. But I think that Killers of the Flower Moon has the better score out of the three that I've seen. Because The Boy and the Heron is in theaters. It's not playing at my theater. The Zone of Interest has not come out yet. And Poor Things is opening wide on the 22nd. And my theater will not get that either. On the 22nd, we are getting in Migration. So for that, I'm probably not going to get to see the Zone of Interest, The Boy and the Heron, or Poor Things until probably February, right before the Oscars, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is where it gets nuts. Okay, let's talk about this for just a minute. Barbie.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's talk about
that one. Let's get into this. Best Original Song. This has never happened before, I don't think. And if it has, it doesn't happen very often. This thing got nominated for 3 songs. 3. We had Addicted Romance in a film called She Came to Me with Anne Hathaway and Peter Dinklage, which I still want to see at some point. But it's music and lyrics by Bruce Springsteen. We have Dance the Night from Barbie, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, Peaches from the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Road to Freedom from Rustin. I watched Rustin. I don't remember the film. I remember the film. I don't remember that song off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. But then we have What Was I Made For from Barbie. I'm not gonna say I remember that song because I don't. I remember I'm Just Ken. I remember Dance the Night Away, Dance the Night. I remember those 2 songs way more than What Was I Made For. I'm not going to go into what I think is going to win, but I think that this might be too many songs here. I think you could have just rounded that out at, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think you could have taken What Was I Made For out of it, but they did that because it is music and lyrics by Billie Eilish and Phineas. So if we get that song over something like a Dance the Night at the Oscars, it'll be because they want Billie Eilish on the Oscars. But I'm Just Ken is going to be nominated for the Best Original Song Oscar. Peaches, I think they're just going to throw that one in there because This Wish from Wish is not getting all that big of hype. It's a good little song, very good song, but I enjoy that one more than I do what Was I Made For, but definitely not a strong showing from many other films. But this is not the only one where I think that Barbie was a little bit overly nominated. And we'll get into the Critics' Choice in just a minute, because I haven't told you how many nominations Barbie got at Critics'
One
Choice.
too many.
Oh,
You know my feelings towards that movie.
Oh, just wait until you hear how many nominations that thing got. Best Screenplay Motion Picture: Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach for Barbie. Tony McNamara for Poor Things. Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Eric Roth and Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Celine Song, Past Lives. And Justine Triet and Arthur Harari, Anatomy of a Fall. I have seen 4 of those films. I have not seen Poor Things or Anatomy of a Fall, but I think that Best Screenplay might go to Past Lives here. I think that has the best shot of anything that this film is going to get, because it's not going to be up for it might get a Best Picture, but it's not going to win Best Picture. It is going to get a nomination. It's one of the most gentle films of the entire year. It's very, very good. But Best Director, on the other hand, where do you go here? We have Bradley Cooper for Maestro, which I will be seeing not this week, but next week. It comes out on the 20th on Netflix. So Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Greta Gerwig for Barbie, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Celine Song for Past Lives. I think it's going to go to Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, but I can't say that definitively yet, because Bradley Cooper, he's getting some praise. It's mostly for his performance, and the film is said to be fantastic. But having not seen the film, I can't say yet. And Poor Things, it's Yorgos Lanthimos. The Lobster and The Favorite. Well, The Favorite was a major Oscar film. It was a major period piece comedy romance film. This film, it does not look Oscar friendly, but that doesn't matter. It's getting Oscar nominations. Best Director? I don't know. Personally, I think it's going to go towards a Christopher Nolan. I would go for Martin Scorsese. I would go for Scorsese, but that's just me. Best Performance by a Female Actor in a Supporting Role in Any Motion Picture. Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer. Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple. Jodie Foster, Nyad. Julianne Moore, May December. Rosamund Pike, Saltburn. Divine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers. And I have seen The Holdovers. I bought that on Vudu. It came out. I bought it, and it's freaking fantastic. Her performance is phenomenal in that film. I think it might go towards a Danielle Brooks. Maybe a Divine Joy. Divine Joy Randolph has so much going against her, because you're going up against a Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, and you're going up against a Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. Emily Blunt is not the issue here. It's, what did they think of The Color Purple? Because The Color Purple got very little in way of nominations at these Golden Globes, which is not what we thought. We thought it would possibly be a big contender at all the award shows, even back before there was even a trailer for it. We knew almost nothing about this film. But what this film is doing at the Critics' Choice gives me a little bit more hope. I may get to see it before the Oscars. We'll just have to see. Best performance by male actor in a supporting role: Willem Dafoe, Poor Things; Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon; Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer; Ryan Gosling, Barbie; Charles Melton, May December; and Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. What's going to happen here is it's either going to go to Ryan Gosling or Robert Downey Jr. Because Willem Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo, I'm sure they're fantastic in the film. But to me, the breakout star of a film like May December was Charles Melton. He delivers one of the best performances. But he's not a Robert De Niro. He's not a Robert Downey Jr. And he's not a Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling portrayed that role to a T. He knew how goofy to be with it. He knew what to give that role. And Robert Downey Jr. is just unrecognizable in Oppenheimer. He is unrecognizable. Robert De Niro, he's Robert De Niro. He's always fantastic in a Scorsese film. What do you want me to say about Robert De Niro? Is he going to get snubbed for the Oscar? We've seen films like Poor Things. Like we had we had The Banshees of Inisherin. We had two of them get nominated. We had Belfast. We had them get nominated. I think both of them got nominated, but neither of them won. Neither of them won the Oscar. So what's either going to happen here is it's going to go to Ryan Gosling or Robert Downey Jr. It depends on how they vote and how they look at each film and how they go off of that performance, because you can't really compare the performances in Barbie and Oppenheimer, two completely different films, but definitely big films in the awards shows. We have best performance by an actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy. Dream Scenario. Nicolas Cage in Dream Scenario. Timothy Chalamet in Wonka. Matt Damon in Air. Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers. Joaquin Phoenix, Beau is Afraid. That's a comedy? Okay.
No clue.
Okay. And Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. As far as I know, Beau is Afraid is more of a horror film. But maybe there's funny moments in it that make it a comedy. I don't know. I haven't seen it. That runtime scares me. It's almost 3 hours. So if I don't go to see it in theaters, there's a good shot. I'm either going to have to catch it on like Netflix, or once it goes to HBO Max, I may catch it then. But I'm almost in no hurry to see Beau is Afraid because of that runtime.
Yeah.
This one's going to be very interesting. It could go to a Jeffrey Wright. American Fiction is picking up steam in the awards verse, but right now it's either going to go to Matt Damon for Air or Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. I think that Paul, Matt, and Wright are the ones who are going to be up for the best chances of getting a Best Actor Oscar nomination. Not a Nicolas Cage, not a Timothy. I love those guys to death. Don't get me wrong. But the thing with these, right? The Golden Globes, they add in the musical or comedy to get more stars on the show. So they are not going to get a nomination. Will they be deserving? I don't know. I haven't seen Dream Scenario yet, and I haven't seen a Wonka. But once we do, I'm sure that we will give our reviews of those. But this is one that's very interesting because we had something shocking happen. We had best performance by a female actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy. Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. Jennifer Lawrence in No Hard Feelings. Natalie Portman in May December. Alma Poisty in a film called Fallen Leaves. Fallen Leaves is a foreign film that's going to be on Mubi, which is a streaming service. Margot Robbie for Barbie and Emma Stone for Poor Things. It's either going to go to a Emma Stone or a Margot Robbie. It depends on what they think about Poor Things. If they look at the performance of Emma Stone and they think they think she was weird enough and gave it enough to really build it more, then it might work. It might work. But with Barbie, they nominated the hell out of that thing. So I don't know. And it is the Golden Globes. Golden Globes are weird. They will give a nomination to something like a Beau is Afraid in comedy. So I don't know. There's your two options. I don't see it going to a Jennifer Lawrence, even though she was freaking phenomenal in the film. She's always phenomenal. But best performance by a female actor in a motion picture drama. Annette Bening in Naiad, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall, Greta Lee in Past Lives, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, and Kaylee Spaney in Priscilla. This one is probably going to Lily Gladstone. I think she's your front runner to win this. She's phenomenal. She damn near steals the film from Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, which is almost unheard of. The last person who stole a film from Leonardo DiCaprio was Margot Robbie in The Wolf of Wall Street. That's where her career started to really go boom. This is going to be the same thing for Lily Gladstone, but Sandra Hüller is beloved for that film, Anatomy of a Fall. Haven't seen it yet, but once I do, I have a feeling I'm going to understand why she's going to get nominated. I don't see it going to anybody else besides those two, though. Having not seen the other films, can't say 100%, but that's your favorite. Best performance by an actor in a motion picture drama. Bradley Cooper, Maestro. Leonardo DiCaprio, Killers of the Flower Moon. Coleman Domingo, Rustin. Barry Keoghan, Saltburn. Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, and Andrew Scott, All of Us Strangers. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know what All of Us Strangers was. I had no idea. It's a romantic drama. It's a romantic drama that's coming out in January to theaters. So, yeah. Best motion picture, non-English. We're not going to watch most of these films. One, because of the runtime. Two, because we're not going to have a way to. I don't think before the awards. Anatomy of a Fall, Fallen Leaves, Io Capitano, Past Lives, Society of the Snow, and the Zone of Interest. This is the stupidest award. This is the stupidest award I've ever heard of in my entire life, because you're supposed to be talking about film excellence, not saying, hey, you made money. We made money. Yes, Hollywood. You have Barbie, Guardians of the Galaxy, John Wick Chapter 4, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. That's a film? Okay. To me, it's a concert. Anyways. What is going to win here? It might go to Oppenheimer. It might go to Barbie. But Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, I think that's just an easy way to try and get her on the show. It depends on what they classify as an achievement or if it's a fan voted award. Because if it's a fan voted award, it's going to Taylor Swift. It's going to Taylor Swift. If you let those fans vote, they will break the Golden Globes voting website. They will break it just like they broke Ticketmaster to make sure she gets a Golden Globe. Best Motion Picture Animated. This is a very easy category. We know what's winning. We have The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Suzume, and Wish. We automatically know it's going to Wish. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's going to go to Spider-Man. It's going to go to Spider-Man. The action, the animation, the overall story, making you intrigued with the third film is enough to give it that, and it's in a lot of people's top favorite films of the year, so I think it's going to get that. 2 more categories for this one, and then we have a short list of Critics' Choice. Musical, there we go. Best Picture, musical or comedy? Hair. Hey, the train likes it too. Hair, American Fiction, Barbie, The Holdovers, May, December, and Poor Things. This might go to Poor Things. I think it has the best chance of winning Best Picture at the Oscars in this category. But Barbie could win. It's between that and Poor Things. American Fiction, yes, it's picking up steam, but I don't see it being a juggernaut like a Poor Things or a Barbie, getting all these nominations in multiple categories. Best Picture Drama, Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and The Zone of Interest. I don't think you've seen a single one of those films, right?
No, don't think so.
I'm almost with you. I've seen 3 of them. In the drama category and the comedy, I've seen 1, 2, 3. So I've seen 3 in both categories. I think it's going to go to Oppenheimer. That's your Best Picture. And then the Critics' Choice, this is going to be a very quick nomination because let's just, yeah. How many nominations do you think that Barbie got? Just give me a random guess.
10.
Keep going up. I will say this. It broke the record for the most nominations for any film. 18 nominations. 18 nominations for Barbie.
Oh, good God.
To put that into perspective, Oppenheimer got 13. What really helps Barbie in the categories is having the 3 songs nominated. That's normally what it is. But Critics' Choice, well, let's get right into it. Get past the TV awards, yada, yada, yada. There's the TV awards. Okay. Best Score, Poor Things, Society of the Snow, Oppenheimer, Spider-Man, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Barbie. We got a nomination for Barbie and Score. Didn't happen at the Golden Globes. You would have thought, because they loved it just about as much as everybody else did. Apparently, I mean, the Critics' Choice, it has 18 nominations. And before we keep going, you hate this film. You hate Barbie.
Oh, yeah. Or in my bottom of the year.
Mm-hmm. And I love this film. I think it's deserving. Do I think it's 18 nominations? Maybe not. Spread the love a little bit. But 18 films? I'm sorry. If you're going to get more nominations than a La La Land, a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a Oppenheimer, a Elvis, something like that, I don't mind. I don't mind, but I prefer a La La Land. I prefer a Shape of Water, a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a West Side Story over Barbie. Now, this is in my top 5 or 6 of the entire year. I think it's phenomenal, but even I think that 18 nominations is outrageous. I think it's outrageous for any film, regardless of what I think of the film. Anyways, best song. The 3 from Barbie, Dance the Night, I'm Just Ken, and What Was I Made For? This Wish from Wish. So it got it in at the Critics' Choice. They just did the same exact thing as the Golden Globes and put in Peaches and A Road to Freedom. I'm Just Ken probably has the best chance of winning unless they had so much fun with the Mario Bros. Movie that Peaches gets the win. That just depends. Yeah. I would probably go for I'm Just Ken, because I'm Just Ken is such a fun song. They knew what they were doing, and for Peaches, it's more of like a comedy song. And don't get me wrong, it's a damn good song. It's very good. But I think it's going to go to that one. It's going to get an Oscar nomination. But then again, it is the Oscars. The Oscars did not give nominations. Multiple things that should have gotten nominated. But, we'll see that on Oscar morning. Because I know that if Peaches does not get a Oscar nomination, you're going to be a little bit pissed.
Yeah, especially if Ken does.
Oh, Ken is getting in 100%. No matter what. The only thing that I see them taking out is What Was I Made For? Because the Oscars have a rule, and I just learned this, that you can only nominate 2 songs from each film for Best Song. And for me, it's going to be Dance the Night and I'm Just Ken. Because Dance the Night is going to make everybody get up and dance and have a good time, unless they want to have Miss Billie Eilish on the show. I don't know. Best foreign language film. This is a bit of a shock. Anatomy of a Fall, Godzilla -1, Perfect Day, Society of the Snow, The Taste of Things, and The Zone of Interest. Godzilla -1. Okay. I've heard that film's phenomenal.
Yeah, it done good at the box office. I think it's only made for like 15 million, and they've done that. So
yeah. But what's really shocking is what gets to the next category, because in a couple of them, I mean, because what everyone has talked about did not get nominated. We have Best Animated Film: The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, and Wish. It's shocking that Nimona's in there. I didn't expect to see Nimona in there. I mean, it's a darn good film. Good little film. But I was not expecting to see that. I was expecting to see that. But what's missing here? What's the animated film?
Did you even say Did you say Super Mario Brothers? This is why I don't get into the awards that much. That's ridiculous. That's
Best comedy. Yeah. Best comedy: American Fiction, Barbie, Bottoms, The Holdovers, No Hard Feelings, and Poor Things. I don't know what way that's going. I haven't seen American Fiction or Bottoms or Poor Things. But to me, the funniest film is definitely No Hard Feelings. That's definitely the funniest film out of all those. The Holdovers is a very funny film, but it's more of a dramedy. And Barbie is funny in a different way than No Hard Feelings is. No Hard Feelings is a film that is raunchy. It's raunchy and it knows what it is, so it has more of like a fun comedy feel, where Barbie has different varieties of a comedy in it. Where No Hard Feelings is just straight sex raunchy comedy. Best visual effects. This is the one where Godzilla missed. The only thing I've heard about Godzilla -1 is that everybody agrees. 1, it's a great film. 2, the visual effects are fantastic for being a $15 million film.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly they saw it. Where is it here? Where is it here? We have The Creator, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Where does this go? I don't know. To me, Oppenheimer might have had some visual effects, but as far as I know, the bomb going off was actually a real bomb, and there's not enough effects in there for the Oscars to even put it on their short list. So that's not even going. That's one less Oscar nomination for Oppenheimer. Best hair and makeup: Barbie, The Color Purple, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Priscilla. Best costume design: Barbie, Wonka, The Color Purple, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Napoleon. Napoleon gets one.
That's not surprising. It's Napoleon. It's costume, so.
Mm-hmm. But over something like a Oppenheimer or something like a Guardians, where there's more to the costumes, I think, than in a Napoleon. Now, having not seen it yet, I can't say that. I know they looked beautiful in the trailers that I've seen, but best editing, Air, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Maestro. Best production design, Saltburn, which I know you're looking forward to. No, you're not.
Gosh. You can watch that one for me.
Mm-hmm. Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Barbie, Poor Things, and Asteroid City. Asteroid City, not a big surprise. All of Wes Anderson's films usually go for the big costume design and production design awards. That's normally what happens there. Best cinematography, Maestro, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, Saltburn, Oppenheimer. That's probably going for Oppenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
Best original screenplay, May December, Air, Maestro, Barbie, The Holdovers, Past Lives. Adapted screenplay, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. All of Us Strangers, American Fiction, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon. Best Director, Maestro, Barbie, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, The Holdovers, and Killers of the Flower Moon. Acting Ensemble, which is basically just the best cast. Air, Barbie, The Color Purple, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Oppenheimer. Young actor / actress. I'm not even going to try and say these names. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Barbie, Wonka, Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, and The Creator. It is the kids from those films, or the young actors from those films. Best Supporting Actress, Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer. Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple. America Ferrera, Barbie. Jodie Foster, Nyad. Julianne Moore, May December. Divine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers, Supporting Actor. Sterling K. Brown, American Fiction. Robert Downey Jr., Killers of the Flower Moon. Robert Downey Jr. Woo! Where'd you go? I don't know where you went. Well, it's all right. Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer. Ryan Gosling, Barbie. Charles Melton, May December. Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. No Willem Dafoe. They put in Sterling K. Brown instead of Willem Dafoe here. Best Actress, Killers of the Flower Moon. Lily Gladstone. Sandra Hüller, Anatomy of a Fall. Greta Lee, Past Lives. Carey Mulligan, Maestro. Margot Robbie, Barbie. And Emma Stone for Poor Things. Best Actor, Bradley Cooper, Maestro. Leonardo DiCaprio, Killers of the Flower Moon. Coleman Domingo, Rustin. Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers. Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer. Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. And then we have Best Picture of the Year. This has a list of 10 films. This is probably not going to be the Best Picture nominations we get at the Oscars, but so far this is not a bad list. I've heard all these films are good. If I haven't seen them yet, I've heard they're very good and deserving. So in alphabetical order, we have American Fiction, Barbie, The Color Purple, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and Saltburn. Now, out of the nominations, which one do you think has the best chance of winning Best Picture? And which one would you pick? But that just depends, because I think you've only seen one of the films so far.
Yeah.
And
so if I
hated it.
Yeah. So I'm basically blind picking. For me, it would probably be between Oppenheimer and then Killers of the Flower Moon, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it'd be one of those two.
For me, it's going to be between Oppenheimer and Poor Things, because Killers of the Flower Moon, it's going to get the nominations. I don't see it getting a whole lot of wins. It's going to be like the Irishman. The Irishman is a long Martin Scorsese film. It's 3.5 hours. It's overly long, but it's still a masterpiece. I think that Killers of the Flower Moon is a better film than The Irishman, but I think that that's going to be a very interesting category because the only ones that even have a shot of winning. Well, then again, it would not surprise me if they gave it to Barbie because they gave it 18 nominations. If they do, does that help its Oscar chances of winning a Best Picture? Maybe, because as of right now, the top ones to win Best Picture in the predictions and everything that I've heard is Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Barbie, and Killers of the Flower Moon. But that's just me. But there's the Critics' Choice nominations and the Golden Globe nominations and all the reviews. Rounding everything out, we do have one more thing to talk about, and that is what is coming out this week. Well, here's the thing, folks. This is a busy week. It's the week before Christmas. And let me just be really honest here. There's not a whole lot coming out that both of us are going to watch.
Yeah.
We will do all the Hallmarks. We will do those, but for right now, if I can get my stupid app to work, you just watched Heaven Down Here.
Yeah.
And you just watched a Ice Palace Romance as well.
Yeah.
We will get into those next week, but what would you say is going to be the best ones out of what we have coming up? Because we do have three that we both haven't seen. But out of the ones we haven't seen, we have the Secret Gift of Christmas, Sealed with a List, and Friends and Family Christmas. We have those. Having not seen a trailer for Friends and Family Christmas, I've not seen a preview for it.
I haven't either. No.
I haven't seen a preview for that, and I haven't seen a preview for the Secret Gift of Christmas yet. I've seen a lot for Sealed with a List.
Yeah, I've seen Sealed with the List. I got Secret Gift of Christmas song going right now.
But the only ones that we have left for this entire week, I would say I'm going to do the Family Plan. That's on Apple Plus. That's an action comedy with Mark Wahlberg that I have a lot of interest in. It says the Zone of Interest came out to VOD via releases.com, but I didn't see it this morning, so I don't think it's on VOD. And then the only other thing that is coming out that I will be seeing is Wonka. I will be going on Monday to see Wonka. I might do Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, and Priscilla did come out to rent and buy today, but I'm going to wait until I get paid to do that one. And then on the 20th, wait. There's Silent Night! Yay! We can run Silent Night if we wanted to. Not no $20. But there will be What Happens Later, a rom-com with Meg Ryan. I can't wait. And then we got Maestro, and The Creator comes to Hulu, and then Saltburn comes to Amazon Prime on the 22nd, and Dream Scenario comes out to rent on the 22nd. So we will have to see what all we watch next week, but we will have all the new Hallmarks, and I'll probably have my review for Wonka, and we'll have some other stuff to talk about and some more news. But there you go, everybody. There's the full show for this week. A little bit later than usual, but you know what? Life happens.
That's for sure.
We have work.
Kids.
Yeah. Dogs. But hey, we will have a show for you every single week, and next week it might be a bit of a shorter show, but Every single week there will be a show for all you guys. So I will see all of you guys next time. Let us know where you can find you on YouTube.
And just at Scottie and Ashley Johnson. Pretty
All right.
simple.
And we will see all of you guys next time.